Hello, good afternoon. It's High Priestess Jamila. Hello. I'm about to make coffee, but I wanted to come and talk about something real quick. Uh that is very interesting that I am literally just learning last night, or not last night, actually somewhere during the witching hour. But I need coffee really bad because I slept in today. I slept in today. And yeah. And so it's coffee time. How are y'all? Um, Something very interesting that I wanted to speak about, and it's involving the legends of Lake Lanier. Okay, and I spirit works in mysterious ways. So I was doing some research last night, and I realized that the county that I live in, yes, the county that I live in. How did I run across the story of Lake Lanier? Of course, I've been knowing about it. Of course, if you guys don't know about Lake Lanier, I'll give you a quick rundown about Lake Lanier. So, years and years and years ago, it used to be a town in Georgia called Oscarville. Okay. And Oscarville, Georgia was a thriving town full of Black people as well as Native American people. And so apparently, uh, years ago, there was a woman that ended up raped, and she ended up dying. Some crazy stuff happened. And of course, that was back during not so good times for Black folk. Okay, and so it's a whole story. I'm not going to really get into it because it's they ended up basically, trying and executing two or three Black guys for raping this white woman, and she ended up dying. And so of course they lynched them. And so the apparently the United States Army decided to flood out that town, which is kind of crazy. I mean, it's kind of crazy because there was people that lived there. They ran them out of that town. I guess whoever was left there died in the flood, okay, of Oscarville. This was years ago. And apparently it ended up getting flooded out, and it was turned into a man-made lake called Lake Lanier. Now, if you didn't know about that, if you didn't know about the fact that they literally call that lake the lake of death is what they call it, because so many people, like, it's set a record for so many people dying at that lake. Okay, drowning, strange things happening. There's even a handless and feetless, I think she doesn't have hands or feet, that haunts that lake. It's got a huge legend surrounding it, right? And so, I've been knowing about this. Okay, there's been many, many deaths at that lake. Come to find out, the water supply in Gwinnett County, which is where I live, comes from that lake. Isn't that interesting? Hold on a second, guys. 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, I'm making 6 cups of coffee here. Okay, so y'all know that I'm a witch, and things like that don't scare me. Okay, it just doesn't. It really doesn't. It doesn't freak me out that I am literally bathing and then sometimes drinking. I am bathing and drinking in the water of Lake Lanier. I didn't know this until literally at the witching hour this morning. I had no idea. And it got me to thinking. It did. It got me to thinking because that lake is a hot spot for paranormal activity. So it's interesting that I would have a direct um like line to it. Like literally all I got to do is turn on my faucet and all of this water that I'm getting comes from Lake Lanier. It's very interesting because um for about 5 minutes last night I thought I want to go to that lake and I want to take some of that water home with me. Okay, but then somehow I stumbled upon the fact that I'm in Gwinnett County and that's where our water supply comes from. Okay, even though of course it is filtered, of course it is cleansed before it reaches my pipes. So I, of course, who am a witch and a necromancer, I decided I am going to get a bowl of this water and I am going to make spirit contact with the spirits of Lake Lanier. I mean, I couldn't help myself. So I did. I did a little ritual and actually did make contact. Okay. The only thing is that, and I know I made spirit contact because I tried to go to sleep after the ritual that I did. I tried to go to sleep, but then a spirit woke me up, a spirit that I had to banish, which it's gone. I know how to banish a spirit. But because this is what happened, I did my ritual. I laid down to go to sleep, and all of a sudden, there was this spirit of this man. He comes up behind me in the bed, and he's basically, it was so weird because I think that spirit had been here. Okay. Because for me, the way that I connected with it, and especially when I did my ritual with that water, like I literally called up some spirits through my water supply that comes out of my tap. And they were very healing, very healing. I felt very healed, very peaceful. And in fact, when I drink the tap water, it actually, to me, feels very healing, even though I like to drink bottled water because of the way that it tastes. But anyway, there was one particular spirit, it comes up behind me and it's saying something about it was being weird and it had a weird accent, but you could tell that this spirit was from the South. So I immediately, like, it literally came up behind me and it was whispering in my ear. And so I woke up and I'm like, wow, it just, when things like that happen, it lets me know, like I didn't appreciate what happened. I banished the spirit, cleared it out of here. But it lets you know, it's kind of like confirmation that yes, you have definitely made contact with the spirit realm. I believe that since Gwinnett County's water supply comes directly from Lake Lanier, I believe that this entire county, and I think even some counties in the surrounding areas like Atlanta, I believe that you have to pay extra special attention to spiritual activity just because of that, because the water that is supplying your home comes from that lake. It's a water reservoir, which is it provides water to the areas close by Lake Lanier, which I'm not far from the lake. I think I'm probably like 45 minutes to an hour from Lake Lanier. And so to me, it's not a scary thing at all. But I feel like you have to be extra cautious because there could be others. Like, I'm not afraid of any of those spirits of my ancestors that died in that flood. I'm not afraid of those spirits. And then there's also what's buried underneath all of that water is an ancient Native American burial ground as well. It's like a it's not a burial ground, but it's like it's a ritual ground is underneath that water as well that the natives would use. So it wasn't just Native Americans, it was Native American as well as black. And judging by the pictures, it just to me they all looked like what Native Americans would look like, because you know how yes, Cherokee, because that is where the Trail of Tears started actually. Which is my ancestors. Yeah. There's a couple of different I actually made a video about it, but I just haven't uploaded it yet. I haven't gotten the opportunity to upload it yet. But there has been so many people that died in that lake, like over 700 deaths. In fact, Usher's ex-wife wants that lake drained. It's never gonna happen because that lake provides water resources to a couple of different counties. So it's not gonna happen, because if they drain that lake, we wouldn't have any water running through our pipes unless they were to create another way of, because Usher's ex-wife actually lost her child at that lake. So there are a lot of spirits in that lake that died. And people have reported that when they swim in that lake, that people that have not died, but they have instead managed to escape Lake Lanier, they said it's almost like something is sucking you down under the water, and that the water feels very heavy. uh and so you guys should look that up. It's really interesting, but it's a very, very real thing. It's something that I have a respect for. I respect spirits, I respect the dead, okay? Because they have a story to tell. So it's something that is taken very seriously, to the point where there are people in my area that refuse to go to that lake because it's taken so many lives. For me, as a witch, I feel that it's a good thing. However, if I'm going to be playing in that water like I was last night, I wasn't playing in it, but I just felt like, wow, this water holds the spirit of my ancestors. Let me call to them. Yeah, that's it. And that because it just hey sister, hello, one EQ. You're from New York. Are you really, Amber? Cool. Hello. So, however, there was a spirit. It freaked me out. There was one spirit in particular that came up through that water. From what my spirit guides told me, is that being that that water supplies your houses, that spirit has been here, especially considering some of the things that that spirit said to me was very like, oh no, you got to go. So I had to get up at 5 o'clock this morning and banish that spirit, because it was literally like I felt it touch me. I felt like you could just, it was a spirit, and it was very up close and personal. When you are asleep, you sort of like cross over a little bit, like something goes on when you're asleep, and that's why a lot of people can make spirit contact when they are asleep, because you are in a different state of consciousness and I was asleep. I fell asleep watching something on YouTube. And so I had to get up because that spirit did not sit well with me. And I think that that spirit has been here, like it's been here because it just so happened to, because I'm constantly doing conjure work in this house, and it's been here. but it didn't really like the fact that I called specifically to my loving ancestors of that lake for a ritual, is basically what I did. Because, so if you are in this area, that water, you don't have to necessarily go to that lake to get access to that water. That water is running literally out of your pipes. You have that water on tap, which is very interesting. Anyway, and I know it's very real, because of the experience that I had at 5 o'clock this morning. And I thanked that spirit for letting me know, oh, yeah, you've given me confirmation that I have tapped into something that is extremely powerful. And so I use water often in my rituals. A lot of times I really like to use bottled water, the spring water in particular, depending on what type of ritual that I'm doing. But I have been known to take bowls of tap water outside and just either charge them in the sun or the moon. And it's made for some great and powerful ritual water because it's coming out of the tap. Some people would be freaked out by that because there's literally an entire town, including a graveyard, underneath in that lake. Yeah, you'd have to look it up because it will say it. And actually, last year, now Gwinnett County, the county I live in, they have been, their water in this county has been directly coming from Lake Lanier um, for years, but they just officially made Lake Lanier their official. Like, that's all. If you Google it, you'll find it. Just last year in 2022, actually. But I've been wondering. I'm like, I gotta be careful because I'll go in there and get some tap water real quick. It's spirits in that water. It is spirits in that water. And so you have to be careful, like, because I use water. I'm gonna tell y'all straight up and down. Have y'all ever heard of the old but faithful candle in water spell that like witches have been doing it for years? You can take either a black candle or a white candle and you secure it into a bowl or either a cauldron or either some kind of um something for you to, put water in it, and then you fill it up with water and you light the candle. It's excellent for reversing and sending back and throwing back curses. Using this water over here is gonna pack a punch because it's literally comes from a very it's I mean that is an amazing historical story. Like, the whole thing is just pretty amazing. And so there's spirits in that water. Do I feel that that lake is cursed? I don't feel that Lake Lanier is cursed. Yeah, you can either use a black candle, white candle, you can use a red candle, for whatever, but especially with throwing back curses, but do I feel that that lake is cursed? Honestly, I don't feel that it is cursed. I feel that, is it cursed by my ancestors? I don't personally feel that it's cursed. Okay, well, Amber, if you need some of this Lake Lanier water, you can borrow some from me. Okay. If you want it, I've got it on tap, sweetie. You can get some from me for free. I'm not gonna charge you. But it's probably like I think that that is such a amazing history But do I feel that it's cursed? From my perspective, I don't feel that it's cursed. Would I go there and swim in that water? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't go near that water like that. Like I would go near it, like I would look at it because it's a beautiful lake. Would I actually go swimming, kayaking, boating in that water? I wouldn't, because it's dangerous, because you never know the height of the water. I think that what makes it so dangerous is that there is objects in that water. There's buildings, there's houses, there's poles, there's trees. You could very easily get caught onto something, and depending on the height of the water, you could hit something, something could happen. So I don't recommend that, and I believe that they have closed it off. If I'm not mistaken, you can no longer go swimming in Lake Lanier unless you jump over the thing, the barricades that they have. I think that they just did that just this year, because it's owned by, it's some company, some LLC company owns Lake Lanier, and so you can't swim in it anymore. But we're swimming in it every time I take a bath. I'm bathing with my ancestors. I think it's so amazing that they honestly, besides that one spirit that kind of freaked me out, that I had to banish. I had to do it. I had to black salt that spirit because it wasn't. And I said, now and then that spirit mentioned something about my son as well. So I said, oh, you really got to go. So I banished it. I know how to banish a spirit. I need to get me some more sulfur up in here, though. I actually have a little tiny bit left, but it didn't require sulfur. I just, did my little ritual and it was gone. I know, right? It to me that I feel like it makes to me it makes it even more special. And I kind of understand why I ended up in this county, because I take when I take my spiritual baths, I'm basically bathing in the spirits of my ancestors, and I think that that's special. And and then especially doing spiritual work with that water. So what I thought about doing, but I was too sleepy, I was too tired, I went right back to sleep, like after I had that experience, because I've came across some pretty scary spirits before, and not just as an adult since I started my practice as a witch, but I've came across scary spirits even as a baby, as a child. So I'm used to it. Okay, I am. I'm used to it. Um, but what I want to do is get a big bowl and just fill it up with that water, and like do a seance with that water. Um, I did one not too long ago, but it was very dark water that came from my cauldron, and I'd rather use clear water, because you can actually film it and pick up on spirits. You can see spirits in water. So there's a thing called, like, it's called water scrying or water divination. I think that it's interesting. And it just gives me a new appreciation, you know what I'm saying, for just the whole experience. And it would explain a lot. It would explain a lot. Okay. Uh, it would. I've done some powerful return to senders with water. I use water a lot for my return to senders. Um, if I feel that somebody put a particularly bad spirit on me when I take a bath, it'll just be my intuition will be telling me, save some of that water and make it into war water. You know, I don't like fighting spiritually. I don't like that. I think it's just, to me, I'd rather Listen, I'd rather be spending time with my family. I'd rather like to spend time doing other things other than spiritual warfare. I believe that spiritual warfare can be avoided. Okay, I do. I believe it can be avoided altogether. Especially just straight up and down, like you can banish anything. Well, at least I can. And so you don't have to be caught up feeling like, oh, if I don't keep sending stuff back and forth and slinging bad energy at one another, that something's going to happen. I think a lot of people think that people really think that. There have been plenty of times where I have literally uh, trapped and even sometimes have destroyed negative spirits that have been sent to me by enemies. And so there's no need to continuously conjure up bad energy because it's silly, it's petty. But now I can see why, because I've used that tap water. I've been living in Gwinnett County for 3 years now, or no, it'll be 4 years soon. And I've had a habit of using that tap water, and I'm like, oh snap, I didn't know that this water packs an extra supernatural punch. Okay. Yeah, you're more than welcome, Amber, to come over here and get some of this water. I'll give you a nice jug of it. Uh-huh. I'll give you a nice jug of it. Um, so anyway, I think it's interesting. I've been looking at videos about Lake Lanier. It's kind of scary. It is, I will admit, it's a little scary, but to me it makes sense. It does. It makes a lot of sense. There's been a lot that has happened throughout the years involving that lake. So, And so, anywho, I'll let y'all know if I get any more hauntings. I know that last night I was extremely haunted by a spirit, and I had to get rid of that thing after, my spirits woke me up. It did. They woke me up. My spirits woke me up because that thing was right there, and my spirit guides, I was able to get up. I was able to banish that spirit, and you know, um, it got up out of here. It's gone. So anyway, I hope y'all have a good day. It's almost Halloween. It's almost Halloween, which is also considered to be All Hallows Eve, is what the church used to call it. So I like to call it that because I don't know. Anyway, Samhain is what it is, or Samhain. Samhain is actually how you pronounce it. So it's just really exciting. The spirit activity is really exciting right now. I know some people are afraid of that, but you know, I wouldn't be afraid of that. I've been talking to spirits since I was 2 years old, probably before that, you know. So y'all have a good day. All right. Next time y'all are anywhere near Gwinnett County, just know that water, it comes from Lake Lanier. Okay. I'll see you guys later. Blessings. Bye bye.